All right, welcome to the podcast. On today's show with Daniel Bennett. Thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me.
People don't know, who are you? What do you do? What's the business?
That's a big question. I'm a content creator. I also am a partner at a social agency and a production company. Lots of things, but my world revolves around content. I would say if people don't know me and want to get to know me, I make mid to late 20s relatable content on the internet, and that has transpired into working with some of the biggest brands, celebrities, artists in the world as a full-time job.
The reason I want to talk to you is many reasons, but one is people struggle with this content thing.
Yeah.
All the time. And then they'll say some things like, oh, it's for the young people, or they just don't understand the investment that it may take, not necessarily has to take, but there's also this like, do I need a camera? Like we get this question all the time. Do I need a camera, no microphone? Like,
yeah.
The iPhone is great.
Yep.
Right? And then editing, who's going to edit all these things?
Yep.
And so when you were first getting into the game, what was your interest in it, first of all? Were you like into storytelling? What angle did you come at the content from?
So I graduated from college and I worked at an advertising agency called TBWA Chiat Day. It was Apple's first advertising agency.
Okay.
I got hired as an assistant. I was getting coffees, lunches, organizing decks or PowerPoints, as people call them as well. Yeah. And long story short, there were these jobs that were called creatives, and like their job was to come up with ideas.
Okay.
And in this corporate structure, ideas when you're on the brand team or brand manager aren't as valuable as the ones when your title is designated creative. And that kind of like lit a fire under me to be like, I have these ideas and I think that these are great, and they can sometimes be better than the creatives that were there, but I wouldn't get the attention because I was an assistant or I was a brand manager.
Yeah.
And I think the best way for motivation for myself is when someone says no to me and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go do it now.
Totally.
And then long story short, COVID happened, which was horrible for some people. It was the best thing for me because it slowed everything down. Started making TikToks in my parents' backyard.
Okay.
Every day I decided
about what? What was the content?
So I loved Vine, and I was I can do this back and forth kind of like comedy bit. I think I'm funny.
Okay.
And I decided for 60 days I would make 2 videos a day and I wouldn't miss a day.
2 videos a day, 60 days.
Yep.
Great.
One in the
just
morning.
you on camera, or was it
in the
scripted?
app.
Okay.
Impromptu in my backyard, whatever I thought was funny. I would switch sides. I would go blah, 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 blah. Okay. And like that transpired into 200,000 followers within 60 days. And I was like, okay, this whole thing is really just about consistency. It has nothing else. Like mediocre content and consistency will get you very far.
That's a good plug for people who don't understand it.
Exactly.
Just be consistent about it.
I think that's kind of the rule of thumb.
Do you think that's changed?
No.
Okay. So same.
Yeah.
Just post.
Well, I think the hard thing is,
it.
I'm sure you've met a lot of content creators, but I've posted a video, if not 2, almost every day for the past 4 years of my life, 5 years maybe. I don't know, however long COVID was ago. That discipline is hard. And that's where people struggle, is they don't get views for the first 100 videos.
Yeah.
And then they go, well, I'm just going to give up. It's not working.
You know, it's so funny. I was with a friend of mine who has a pretty big podcast, I'd say, and in sports, and they have a co-host. And I was like, all right, what's the biggest challenge to scaling? Thinking we were going to have this really interesting debate or question on like getting the right guest or timing it right with whatever happens in sports. And the answer was my co-host showing up. And I was like, I think people really just, in your head, when you're just a person beginning and you look at someone who appears to be successful, sometimes it's that simple. It's just like, just show up, just show up, be consistent, be disciplined.
That's it.
And that's it.
Because I think there's been times where I'm like, oh, I don't want to post today, or like I'm in a bad mood or I'm down or whatever. And like, I still post because I know I'll look back in 3 weeks, a month, and go like, I remember that day when I was feeling like shit, but I still did this.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between successful content creators and non-successful ones. It's literally just consistency.
How fast did it take you to grow your following, like the 200,000 that you got? When did you know you were onto something of the 0 to 60 days? When did you know?
When my coworkers started bringing it up.
Okay.
And being like, hey, I saw that video you made on TikTok. Or when I got asked to be a creative consultant.
Okay.
Because they wouldn't designate me a creative, but I was a creative consultant.
They're still putting you down.
On the launch of TikTok for Business, which is the whole ad platform that...
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the agency that I worked at created that, and I was a creative consultant.
Okay.
The whole like, don't make ads, make TikToks kind of tagline that they still use today.
Yeah.
When my coworkers caught on and when creative directors caught on, I was like, I might be onto something.
So now people are thinking, okay, this guy is he knows the game to some extent.
Yeah.
He's onto something.
Sure.
Okay. And then you're getting these roles. And at what point are you like, I think I should just go do this myself? Like, or could I create my own team, my own media agency?
Yeah, I don't think it started as like I want to create my own media agency or anything like that. That just kind of happened.
Okay.
Because you need help with things as things scale.
Yeah.
It was more just I'm living at home after college for 2-3 years. I've saved up some money. I have a nice little cushion. Like I can take the risk of quitting and having no backup plan and trying this.
Yeah.
And that's a luxury. That is like a massive luxury that I'm not lost on, because I think people have bills, people have things they need to pay for. For me, I just lived with my parents. Like groceries were paid for. I didn't have to pay rent. And I had like $10,000 saved up. And I was like, I could survive for 6 months before needing to get another job.
I tell people, and it comes with a little bit of privilege, but I tell people if they can get to a point where they can allow themselves to potentially fail once, it's generally a life-changing move. And if that means living with your parents, like even if you don't come from that much money, it doesn't really matter. But if it means like you've just reduced your bills to very little, your phone, give yourself the shot to fail and just try something. Yeah. Because you'll never regret it.
Yeah. And then I kind of fell into what I do now, which is like consulting for artists, celebrities, brands on short form content and creative strategy.
Give me a window into your first contract though. So at some point someone's like, all right, I'm going to fork over a bunch of cash to you, to this guy. And you're like,
I wouldn't say a bunch of cash,
but you know, like a little bit of money. And you're like, oh my God, am I really doing, is there an imposter syndrome moment? Or you're like, how do I get this right?
I think I knew the money was there.
Okay.
When I worked on a brand at the agency, a boring brand, and we paid my yearly salary for 3 hours of some influencer's time.
Okay.
And I was the one coordinating that.
Yeah, so that's offensive. You're offended. It must be a little bit like,
yeah, because I'm working like 80 hours a week.
Yeah.
And then this influencer walks in, cashes out a check for the amount of my thing. And I go, if they can do this, I can probably do this.
Yeah.
And that's where it kind of started. But the first deal, if you will, was like $250 for like a coffee video or something like that.
Okay.
Of a coffee brand. And I made them like 2 vlogs or something. And I got $250 and I was like, this is sick. Like I can make money making videos at my parents' house and going to the gym and doing all that stuff. So I was pretty stoked on it.
What do you think keeps business? So on the other side of that, it's the business that are giving you the money, or the businesses that are looking for content. What do you think keeps them? Like, what are they afraid of in terms of like when you have your clients, you deal with them, what are they afraid of? Because there's always a reluctance to some extent to like pay the money, like, am I going to get, and then there's some metric that doesn't exist. Like, what is the reluctance you see, and what do you think, if you could talk to your clients directly and be like, please don't be afraid of like these things that are going to hold you back?
Yeah, I think it's 2-pronged. So like when you're working with artists, it's a level of trust.
Okay.
It's, we know what we're doing, and it's a 2-way street. We're going to trust you guys to kind of like be personable and get the content that we need. And you're going to trust us to package it in a way that is fun for people.
Yeah.
So the trust is a huge thing. Like we won't work with any really artist or brand or anything that doesn't have that sense of trust.
With you guys, yeah.
Yeah, because it's really, really hard to get that.
It really is a vibe. I've seen that personally. I don't think many people have or understand it to the degree you do specifically. It is a vibe.
Yeah.
Everyone has to be sharp and like also kind of loose. It's a vibe. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. Okay.
To the brand clients, like I would say, you don't need so many cooks in the kitchen. You don't need your creative director chiming in on a Instagram post. You need...
It's not that serious, you're saying.
You need 3 people.
Yeah.
4 people maybe. Siloed off with blanket approval and some trust to go crush social.
Yeah.
Give them the brand template. Give them the hex values of the colors. Like give them all the brand stuff that you want. And then be like, go wreak havoc.
Okay.
And I think that's something that still traditional agencies do not understand. And I think I realized that, which is the number one thing that pissed me off at a traditional agency, was a lot of the creative directors, not all of them, couldn't put a TikTok together or a Instagram post or a carousel or a reel or upload to YouTube.
And you just mean it that basically? You mean they couldn't, they couldn't just hit the upload? They didn't know how to do it.
If you don't know what the features are of a platform that is reaching probably the most people in the world right now, you shouldn't be directing the creative for it.
That seems pretty obvious.
Correct. So I think that like lit a fire under me to kind of just like be better at it. And also that's why at our company, KDX, which is backed by Curza, the full production company. Curza is like a giant, has a huge footprint in the music space. No matter what role you are, you have creative input.
Okay.
Doesn't matter who you are.
Doesn't matter who you are, how old you are, any of it.
Our ops manager has creative input. Our account managers have creative input. Digital managers have creative input. If the team outvotes me as head of creative, I am wrong.
Yeah. Because everyone's a consumer. And so everyone can take their own piece of it. Yeah. Like food. Like you could love it, someone else could hate it.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
But if majority of people like it, it's probably good.
What have you learned? Like, what have you learned that you didn't know at the beginning of starting the agency? Like, for example, there's you could Google right now, when to post on Instagram. And then you have Adam on Instagram saying, none of this actually matters. Hashtags don't matter. Post whatever.
I just saw that post recently.
And then the latest one is like, just post right before your peak audience is going to chime in. And so that way it catches the algorithm. Does any of that really matter?
I think analytics wise, like you want to post when your audience is most active. I think that makes sense.
That seems like an easy one. Yeah.
There's also to me, it's two-pronged. Good content is good content.
It doesn't matter, right?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But also think about yourself as a consumer and go, where am I right now? Where's your average consumer when you're posting? If it's 4th of July and your average consumer is college people, they're probably not scrolling TikTok, listening to the volume right now. They're probably ripping beers and shots out on the beach. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So thinking about that non-analytically, posting at 2 p.m. on a Saturday at 4th of July, not a good idea.
Kind of silly, yeah.
So that's the way I think about it. I also think about it like if it's a huge Saturday night, like EDC, you post in the late morning because most people are waking up at that time and they're hungover and they're in their hotel room and they're brain rotting in their bed, which is the exact target market that I want some of our posts to hit.
Yeah, that makes sense. Some of it is pretty commonsensical.
It's where would I be if I wanted to hit my target market?
Our content specifically in January flies because it's all about starting new businesses and entrepreneurship. And so I think in January, everyone's on their New Year's resolution kick. This year and so we see our content like it goes crazy, which is cool. But it's also, to your point, it's like that's because everyone's on the New Year's resolution kick and maybe start thinking about starting a business for the first time. Yeah, summer, not so much.
I mean, same. It's like our busiest time is festival season. Mm-hmm. So Curza's booked out for a bunch of festivals. KDX is firing on all cylinders because content is being flowed into it.
Yeah.
So our busiest time of year is at the time we're filming this right now, which is what month are we in? I don't know. June.
Yeah.
They all mix together in festival season.
When is festival season? If you
it kicks off at Ultra in Miami.
Yeah.
Which is usually during Miami Music Week.
Yeah.
And then it will go all the way until end of September, I would say, maybe October, depending on where you are.
What's the coolest thing you've been a part of? Like the coolest, and I hate asking because I know there's people listening that are probably like, why would he say that one? Why not mine? But what's like the thing that you remember like the one campaign that you could it just meant so much more to you for whatever reason, whether it was just personal to you, personal to who you worked with, or just the metrics went crazy.
So I would say, and I tell this story a lot in a lot of the really what kind of gassed me up to do this whole thing was I snuck a concept into a deck back at my old agency. And it was the idea right when TikTok was starting, and it was for Gatorade. And Gatorade was like my end goal. It was like, I want to work on the Gatorade account.
Okay.
And I was like, this is the sickest thing ever. I want to work on it. And one of the strategists was like, can you explain TikTok to me? And I explained, well, it's really audio based. At the moment. This was when like dances and things were happening, and I was like, we should lean into audio. And it got me thinking, and I was like, there's a lot of iconic sports moments via radio. Like think about like bang, those kind of moments.
Yeah.
I was like, people on TikTok would eat that shit up and they would recreate it.
Yeah.
So we should get like 10 of the most iconic audios for Gatorade athletes. We should put them on TikTok and let people go wreak havoc of recreating it. Think about when you see a trash can and you yell Kobe.
Yeah.
With a paper ball.
Sure.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Pitch the idea in the creative deck or in the strategy deck, which was going to then pitch to creatives.
Yeah.
Didn't hear a thing. Woke up mid-COVID to a TikTok campaign on my front page called Gatorade Play-by-Play. I didn't know it was happening.
Okay.
Looked at it. It's exactly my concept.
Wow.
With 1.1 billion views, like 18 hours into the campaign. And I think it's still the highest viewed one that they've ever had.
Wow.
But that's when I knew, like, you don't need to be a creative to be creative.
Yeah.
And that's when I woke up and I was just like, That's pretty cool.
You know, the coolest one I've seen, I'm sure you've seen this too. You know, those two Australian dudes that are like, it's like a baseball game.
Yes.
Broadcasting.
Yes.
And they just mimic the voices of.
Yep.
And so the basketball game one that they did where the guy hits like a 3 and he's like, Susie, I'm coming home.
Yep.
You know that one?
Yep.
Oh, so good.
It's so good.
And it's so simple.
Because it's the relatable experiences that really like get you.
Yeah.
Everyone has yelled Kobe throwing something into a trash can. Everyone. So you think about that and you go, okay, how do I take that thing that everyone is relating to, and I make it replicable for everyone?
I mean, that sounds easy a couple times, but to keep thinking of things is tough.
Yeah.
You know, sports is kind of easy. There's a lot of homage or there's a lot of moments in sports that people remember, but it's got to be hard, I would imagine.
It gets hard, but honestly, like moments present themselves and it's just a matter of like looking for them. A lot of my friends will tell you when I'm working and I'm like out on a shoot, I look like I've had 7 energy drinks because my eyes literally look like, and I'm like looking around for any social moment that I can make something out of.
What do you think the restaurants are missing today? Like the restaurant world?
This sounds like personal advice.
The hospitality world. Yeah, we can make it totally personal.
No, I'm kidding.
And the only reason I ask it is because there's a lot of, basically here's what I've learned in the last 7 years essentially is, at one point, if you were in the food business, all you had to do was have good food and you were enough. And then the eater could help you a little bit and you were good there. And then like photos.
Sure.
Then it became video and a lot of people were like, I'm done with this business. And during COVID, people, I think that closed down their business. It was more about that the market had changed. It had changed so quickly. Yeah. And they were just like, look, I've been doing this for 15 years. I'm tired of keeping up, I guess.
Yeah.
What do you say to those people, those businesses?
I think I'm a little biased here because I'm on social every day.
You're allowed. Yeah, you're allowed to be. I mean, you're the expert, right? And so
I would say restaurants don't invest enough in having a social media manager.
Yeah, okay.
Because it only takes one thing to hit the algorithm that goes, oh my God, 500,000 people saw this and now everyone's lining up to try my chicken Caesar wrap. And you sell out in a day. It only takes one review from someone to do that. It only takes one. And I think a lot of people go, we have to be posting on every platform. We have to be doing this like over and over and over again. But it's just shots on goal.
Just keep shooting your shot. Shots
on goal is the name of the game in the restaurant industry.
Yeah.
And also what differentiates you. Like think about if you have, and I think back to this, like that restaurant that has the incredibly stuffed chicken Caesar wrap. And they always get the viral videos of showing how they can wrap so much chicken Caesar in this tortilla that you don't think is going to get wrapped. That simplicity of just filming that video makes me go, I want to go and watch that, or I want to go and get one of those.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the restaurant industry is missing at the moment.
I used to tell people this, like, and I'm on some boards where even saying this is controversial at the time, but it's kind of like, when you're starting a business or when you started a business, let's say in the 80s or 90s or early 2000s, if I said to you, hire an accountant, you wouldn't give me any backlash. You would go, obviously. And I'd say, okay, and then hire a lawyer. And you would say, obviously, can you add value here? And I would say, okay, so just like those two things are obvious, I think a social media manager or somebody in that game is equally as important as a lawyer. I'm like, the problem with this statement is when you close your eyes and think about your lawyer, that person's like 55. And when you think about the social media person, that person's 20 and you disrespect them. But I would say they're equally, if not more important and additive to your business than either a lawyer or an accountant.
I would go as far to say that someone writing a TV commercial at an agency, like a TV spot, like a 60-second TV spot, is equally as important as your social media manager, who is probably making a quarter, if not less than their salary.
That sounds personal.
It is personal.
Yeah, no, I get it.
It is.
I get it.
But it's true. It's the reach is, and yes, numbers are inflated on social.
Sure,
I get that.
Sure.
But overall, again, it's shots on goal and it's also more eyeballs.
Yeah. So then the question, and the other problem is like what you charge, right?
Yeah.
So the market is used to paying an accountant, whatever that is, and a lawyer, whatever that is. But the social media range is at least, and I know it's an evolving, it's like, it keeps moving, but in it, it's like, what should a restaurant or somebody, a hospitality business, a brand pay for social media, in your opinion? Like, what do you guys charge? And I know there's packages and all the things, but like, what's an appropriate number and where do you think it'll land? Because to some extent, AI is helping, making things a little bit easier, I would say, on the editing side or otherwise.
Yeah.
So things are, it seems like, increasing in speed and efficiency on the tech side.
So I would say for a restaurant, it seems reasonable to budget around $3,000 a month for like a general social media manager. That's for a restaurant. Yeah. I would say for our clients, like it kind of depends, because do you need digital management too? Where like we do YouTube premieres and syndicate all the content to other platforms and have ideas per specific platform. Yeah. And are we waking up, every day to different assets we need to make per day per platform? So I don't want to give a exact number of like how much we charge, but we do operate.
Call like $3,000 to $5,000, something like that.
I would say something in the range of it's either retainer based or it's project based.
Yeah.
If you want us to work on a campaign for 6 months, we can figure that out. If you want us to work on it for 2 years, we can figure that out too. I think the really, really nice thing about our business and where we're at is we're still have the boutique feel, where if you have a project and you have a budget, we can try and make it work.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way it should be for every social kind of entity.
Let's talk about this for you. And so you, at some point you leave your job, you start the agency.
Yeah.
And then you have to scale. And at some point you must believe you're the magic guy. You're the guy, like you're the, right? And so then it's like, how do I recreate myself? Right. And so like, how did you go about traversing that?
I think one, training people, like giving feedback, reviewing footage with people, letting the team watch how I edit something.
Okay.
Always helps.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, this is what I'm thinking is the first clip or the second clip or the payoff or for music or whatever. But I also think like being aware that you can't do everything by yourself.
Yeah.
And a team needs to be around you. Like luckily, I think it was earlier this year, we merged with Curza, and now we have this full service production offering, and we have strategists and we have creatives and we have producers and all this stuff that make my job significantly easier.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people underestimate, they think they can do it all themselves, when in reality, delegation is how you win things.
Yeah. You just got to get good at it though. You got to build that muscle,
exactly,
which takes time. I would say I've seen a lot of people fall in that trap.
Yeah.
Where they've tried to delegate and they just get frustrated, or they're just so busy that they can do it faster.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, the ultimate death trap, because they're right, but it's not going to be helpful for their business.
I've fallen into that death trap before.
Yeah.
But again, it really just comes down to like trusting your team, and that's it. If you don't trust your team, it doesn't work.
Where do you think it's all going? And so in terms of like the social media, like how do you think about, so at some point video was not a real thing and now it's like the thing. It's the only thing, I would say. Photos, the carousels are okay. Yeah. Where do you see it evolving? Where do you think these tech companies go? Like where are they trying to take it to?
I would say we're still in the new phase of it, which I think people see, Instagram came out, 10 years ago, 11, 12 years ago, and they think we're in this old phase of social media. Like we're in the new phase.
Okay.
And I think learning every single thing that comes out for each of these platforms is the biggest key to success. Where it's going next is, I would say the creator economy is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, because the creator economy is, I don't want to say more trustworthy, because I don't know if that's true, but I would say it's much more niched than what advertising used to be.
Yeah.
Which is, here's a blanket commercial for all of you.
That's right.
And now here's my favorite creator in this lane, my favorite creator in this lane, and my favorite creator in this lane. And whatever they sponsor, advertise, I'm going to trust more than that TV commercial.
I find that so crazy. Like when you watch Mad Men, it's like everyone had the same things in their house, the same car. It's like really crazy to think about how advertising influenced so many at scale.
Yeah.
Right. And today it's like so vastly different. You can sort of, I don't know if you read I forget what book it was, where it was like everyone becomes a celebrity. Everybody becomes like or like the expert in whatever world, whatever it is, whether it's like lettuce or like painting.
But I think and I tell this to a lot of people, is some people come up and they go, I hate social media. And a lot of people traditionally, just like in the entertainment world, don't love social media because there was a gatekeeper before.
Yeah.
And now there's not. It's democratized fame. It's democratized money, if you will.
Yeah.
And I think that's super cool. Is you have an iPhone, you could walk outside right now and review your coffee and get 1 million eyeballs on you.
I mean, a lot of people that I know at the production companies, mostly in TV and film, are now looking at like YouTube stars and like, early content creators. How do we get, Barstool was actually great at this.
Yeah.
Barstool was like the one, I think, where they were plucking talent so early, and then that talent is now like household names.
But the interesting thing that you just mentioned, which a lot of people don't know, is you use the word talent.
Yeah. What would you say?
I would say talent as well.
Okay.
But a lot of people wouldn't say talent.
They would disrespect it.
Well, they would just say like
some guy on the street.
Influencer, something like that. And it's
I
like,
see.
well, yeah, like if you book someone in a movie and they get 1 million eyeballs on them, they're talent, right? And then if you have someone make videos for your company,
yeah,
they're also talent, right?
I guess so. I mean, it's simple to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you can capture an audience, that's the talent unto itself.
Yeah.
That's like the impossible task.
But I think that's the cool thing about social media is in general, it's an even playing field for anyone who wants to make music, make art, reviewed food, cook, whatever they want to do.
Dude, food content crushes. That's one thing.
Insane.
I feel jealous of food content.
Yeah. I went the wrong lane.
Yeah. You were in music, which is probably pretty amazing. But food is like, you could be lazy with food and it crushes.
Yeah.
It's annoying.
Have you ever seen how much work goes into one of those videos that's like edited?
For sure. Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is crazy because there's a whole thing. It's like the chef has to be good and then everything has to be prepped the right way. And like the cuts, there's a lot of cuts.
A lot of cuts.
And then it's like, are you teaching them how to cook it or are you just entertaining them? Which one is it? Yeah. I'm with you. There's a lot of things there.
Yeah.
When it comes to what you can share with us that's on deck for 2025, whether for you personally or from the brands that you work with, what are you excited about?
You know, KDX is growing rapidly under the Cursor brand. And I think the coolest thing is we've now created this entity for 2025 that we are a one-stop shop for all things content. So instead of having 8 different vendors for your VFX, your FPV drones, your TikTok people, your photographers, your videographers, like you come to us and we supply it all. And we're very good at all of it. I think that's the really cool thing because I used to be the person that had to deal with 8 vendors and paying 8 invoices and doing all that. And having one like team across everything is mind-boggling to some, but to us, it's like just the way we operate.
It's the efficiency play.
Yeah.
And it keeps you all sort of focused on your genius in some extent too.
Yeah. And everyone gets focused on what they're good at. Like if we have a VFX department, like let them go handle VFX and let us handle social. But at the end, you get everything.
All right. Crystal ball me. Let's wrap. What happens next year in the social media landscape? How do you view that? Where are we going? Or maybe even 2028, 2027, 2028. What does that look like in your head?
I think you're going to see the continuation of more creators at events to capture things and get reach.
Okay.
You're seeing the inklings of it at the Grammys, American Music Awards.
That's a great example.
The Oscars. Like you're seeing those examples to get those additional reach.
Yep.
So while the parents sit at home and they watch Entertainment Tonight like they're used to.
That's so true.
I'm watching at home on my feed.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be the big advertising boom next is sending creators to things that you need eyeballs on.
That's so true. I don't know why these people get disrespected.
You ever been to an event and post 10 different times from 10 different angles and then get millions of views on everything? It's insane. And I don't do that myself, but like I've had opportunities to do it and just going into an event and being like, okay, here's an opportunity to make this content. Here's this. Here's how I showcase this. Like that takes some talent to do.
Totally. Well, Daniel, thanks for coming on the pod, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, share with your friends, your family, or anyone you might think might benefit from the conversation we've had today. And if you haven't already, please take a moment to leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. We'd greatly appreciate it. Your feedback helps us improve and reach more people who can benefit from our discussions. The best way to stay connected with us and get the latest updates on future episodes is through our social media channels. You can find us at Startup Storefront. We'll be back next Tuesday with another great episode. See you then.